Hello and welcome everyone. Today with the recent patch of 7.1.1, we're going to go ahead and revisit all of the PvP specs for regs. Let's go ahead and jump right in and get started. First, we're looking at Annihilation. So with the nerf to the Fel, Annihilation has really taken a step up, so we're going to go ahead and put Annihilation in the A tier right now. It's a very strong spec in regs right now. Does really good damage, really good healing, brings a lot of utility. Next, we have Lightning. Lightning has taken a hit with some of the nerfs and everything, so it's still a spec that can be played and can be played well. It's just not as strong as it used to do, so it's sitting right now in the solid B tier. Next on our list for DPS, we have Marksman. Marksman, again, just hasn't got the buffs that it's needed to really compete right now, so it's in our D tier. It just doesn't bring anything. It can do good damage sometimes, but there's nothing that really hard counters or anything. Following Marksman, we have Vengeance. Overall, Vengeance is in a pretty decent place as far as regs go. With the nerf to Mara's running Defel, Vengeance is really kind of stepped up as really the de facto best melee DPS. So it's going in the high A tier. Next, we have Rage. Rage is just altogether worse than Vengeance currently. So it's going to be sitting down. It's probably better than Lightning at this point in time. Lightning just has kind of got its teeth kicked in. So we're going to put Rage starting off in our B tier. Madness. Madness is interesting. Madness is very strong right now. Madness got a pretty big buff going into this patch. So Madness is going to be our first DPS that we're going to include in our S tier. Next, we have Pyrotech. So Pyrotech got a little bit of a nerf going into the patch. It's still strong, but it has fallen kind of out of favor. It's very good when you could really hit like the cleave games. It's still very strong in that, but since those games don't happen that often, Pyrotech has kind of fallen behind. It's still in the A tier. It can still do work, it's just not as good. Next on our list, we have Fury. Fury is kind of falling behind right now. Just because of losing to Fel has really kind of made Fury's weaknesses stand out more. And with the already nerf to damage that it had previously, it's kind of fallen behind. So currently right now, Fury is probably in the high B tier. It's definitely above Rage. You can almost say that's better than Pyro. After kind of thinking about Pyro, we actually probably are bringing Pyro down to our B tier. It doesn't make sense to have it up there. I would move Fury above Pyro at this point. It's still strong. I just think that it's not in the same tier as Annihilation currently for 8s. If it was solo rank, Fury would be higher, but as far as 8s goes, right now Annihilation is stronger than Fury. Next, we have Engineering. Engineering is an interesting spec. Engineering is very good at countering melee. It really is. It's basically a hard counter to melee, but past that, it doesn't have a lot. So Engineering is going in the C tier. It just doesn't pressure objectives either, and that's one of the bigger things with Madness still has the utility to really press objectives. Engineering really can't. Just its playstyle and the way the spec works, it can't really pressure things all that well by itself. Where Madness has a lot of 1v1 potential, Engineering really doesn't. You can kind of just run away from Engineering. You can't do the same with Madness. That's why Madness is so much better right now in 8s. Next we have AP, so Advanced Prototype. It got a bunch of nerfs. AP is not as strong as it was. The nerfs really put a hamper on it. Right now, AP is probably sitting in our B tier. It's probably behind Fury. It just isn't as strong right now, currently with all the nerfs and everything that happened going into 7.1.1. Next, we have Lethality. Lethality is still S tier. Lethality is really good. Is Lethality better than Madness right now? I would say no. I would even say that Lethality and Madness are close, but Madness just edges out just a little bit, just with the raw amount of DPS and raw amount of sustain Madness has right now. Or Madness can just basically just sit there forever. Next on our list is we have Carnage. Here's going to be kind of the problem. Carnage and Fury are very, very close. The problem with Carnage, though, is everything Carnage can do, Fury does a little bit better. They're almost, in a weird way, essentially kind of the same playstyle right now, which is kind of weird. So, Carnage just basically just hits faster, but the DPS really isn't that much of a difference. So we're going to go ahead and put them kind of a tie. You can flip-flop those two, and I wouldn't be mad at that at all. Not an 8s. If we're talking about in like solos, it's definitely going to change because both of these will be better than Annihilation in solos. But in 8s, Annihilation is king right now as far as the Mara specs go. Hatred. Hatred's really not doing that well in regs right now. It just isn't. It isn't performing like you expect it for. When you look at the spec, it seems like it should do better, but it just doesn't. I would almost have almost anything over Hatred right now. There's a lot of classes I would take over Hatred. I would probably take Engineering even over Hatred right now. I think Hatred just, it just doesn't work that well. For whatever reason, it's kind of been hard to put a fingerprint on why Hatred doesn't work that well. The only thing I can come up with is it needs support, where a lot of the classes above it don't really need any type of help or support to really do their thing, where Hatred really does need some type of heals or some type of guard or something to really pop off. It can still be good in cleave games. I just think Pyro is a bit more consistent than Hatred right now. Next, we have Arsenal. Arsenal is decently strong right now. It's not mind-blowing. It's definitely better than Hatred Engineering. It's better than Lightning and Rage. So Arsenal is going to be sitting somewhere here in our B tier. You can kind of flip actually Pyro and Arsenal. They're really similar right now in regs as far as which one you would rather have. Pyro is going to give you more damage and you're going to have more cleave potential. Arsenal is going to stay alive longer, but they're fairly close. Next we have Virulence. Virulence isn't terrible right now. It's just kind of mediocre. If we're really looking at where we're going to put it, I mean, it's better than Lightning, it's better than Rage. Is it better than Arsenal? Probably not. So it's going to be sitting there behind Arsenal right now. The problem is it just doesn't stay alive as long as you would want it to. It's just these fences aren't that great. It has good DPS. You can definitely get DPS out of it. It's just its overall usefulness in 8s isn't as good as something like solos. It's definitely better in solos than it is in 8s. Next, we have Deception. I mean, do we even have to talk about Deception? Deception's easy S tier. Still is. Deception is the best stealth spec right now. As far as if it's better than Lethality, that's close. I would say it is. I would say it's definitely better than Lethality at this point. I don't think it's better than Madness. The problem is Madness can take advantage of any playstyle. Deception is really good at punishing players who are newer. So a really good Deception sin is going to roll through 90% of solo unranked, the 8s games. But Madness kind of has a little bit more versatility, where even if you're playing, Madness kind of works where even if you're playing good players, you can still do good things with Madness. Deception can be a little bit shut down against good players. So that's just kind of why it's not as good as Madness. It's still very strong. Next, we have Innovative Ordnance. Now, this is a very interesting spec right now. It is better than Rage. It's probably better than Virulence just because of how long it can stay alive. Is it better than Arsenal? That's a question. Currently in 8s, with the meta being what the meta is, I would say it's better than Arsenal, and honestly, probably better than Pyro. If I could get it in the right spot. There we go. It's probably better than Pyro. It's just a little bit more consistent as far as the damage goes than what Pyro does, because Pyro really needs to have like that perfect cleave opportunity. I just find IO a little bit more consistent. So I think it's a little bit stronger than Pyro with them at the moment. The reason why it's put Pyro and Arsenal, like I said, you can kind of flip-flop them. I think an edge gives to Pyro just because the upside is really big, where Arsenal just doesn't have as big as an upside. So that's kind of the idea there, is Arsenal doesn't have as big as an upside as Pyro, and Innovative Ordnance is way more consistent than Pyro will ever be. Next, we're going to start taking a look at the tank specs. Not a lot has changed as far as the tanking specs. If we're looking at Darkness, it's still good. There's nothing wrong with this spec. It's definitely better than Lightning. It's better than Rage at this point. Virulence, yep. Arsenal, yep. Pyro, IO, it's better than AP. It's probably better than Carnage. I don't think it's better than Fury currently in 8s. You can make some argument that it could be better than Fury, but they're pretty close as far as what spec you would bring. I wouldn't be mad for anyone bringing Darkness or Fury. They're both still strong in 8s as far as that goes. Next we have Jug Tank. And some people might not like this. I don't think Jug Tank is very good right now. I think that in 8s, Jug Tank is the worst tank by a fair bit right now. I would put Jug Tank somewhere at the bottom of B tier. It's probably behind Virulence from everything that I've seen, everything that I've played. It just doesn't do enough. Its damage sometimes isn't there. It's very hit and miss. It doesn't really have any good like DCDs. Without Grit Teeth, it's pretty squishy once it kind of blows through all of its defensives. The Power Tech tank just lasts longer with heals. So, and Darkness just brings way more utility with stealth. So I really just don't think the Jug Tank is in a good spot. It honestly might even be worse than Rage. I honestly would say Jug Tank is... It actually might be C tier. I think I would rather have Engineering over Jug Tank, honestly. I think Jug Tank is just not very good in 8s right now. It's very disappointing for it to be a Jug Tank right now in 8s. I just haven't seen one really perform well here lately. Next we have Power Tech Tank, S tier easy. Shield Tech, very good. I mean, it's absolutely bonkers. It's the best tank in the game currently in PvP, in solos, and in 8s. Just everything it brings. It's got good passive DR. It's got good damage. It's got good CC. It's just got everything you want out of a tank. It's better than Lethality, yes. I think it's better than Deception, yes. It's kind of been elevated too. I think it's actually one of the stronger specs in the game currently. In 8s anyway, I think it is extremely strong in PvP. This spec can really change the entire game, and that's kind of the factor in 8s. How much does the spec affect the game? And I think a very well played Shield Tech tank, Power Tech tank just affects the game so much more than a lot of classes do right now. Next, we have Bodyguard. So Merc Heals. Merc Heals are pretty good right now. So Merc Heals are definitely in our 8s here. Merc Heals are probably better than Annihilation and Vengeance. The question is Merc Heals an S tier? I don't think the Merc Healer is an S tier right now. I think you would rather bring like Lethality, Deception, Madness over it, and definitely the Power Tech tank. But I think it is solidly at high A. Next on our list, we have Medicine. So Operative Healer got a nerf coming into this patch. It has been hit a little bit, but I've still seen Ops pump out decent numbers. I don't think it's as good as the Merc Healer though. I think these two are pretty close. So we're gonna go ahead and leave them at the top of 8s here. I think right now at this point, as far as 8s goes, you can swap them freely. I don't think it matters which one you bring. I think they both do different things, but they do the different things well enough that they're pretty similar. Sword Healer, again, it's just still not as good as the other two. It's just not... I'm trying to think of kind of where it would place overall. You would bring it over Fury, you would bring it over Rage, you would bring it over Virulence. Honestly, you probably wouldn't bring it over Arsenal at this point. I would rather have Arsenal than a Sword Healer. A good played Arsenal DPS is probably better than Sword Healer. And it's just kind of the sad state where the other two healers are so much better than Sword Healer right now. And then we forgot Concealment when we were going through our DPS list, but Concealment is strong in 8s right now. It really is. It's just the objective control. So Ops are always going to be strong in 8s. It's just a matter where is it. I think it's somewhere in our 8s here. It's probably better than Annihilation and Vengeance just because of objective control. And you obviously would bring the two healers over Concealment. So it's at the top of 8s here. And that is kind of the breakdown as far as 8s goes currently. In a couple weeks I'll probably do an updated list just as I get more feel, but these are kind of the first impressions of how 8s are right now. So we're in our S tier, we have our Shield Tech tank, Madness, Deception, Lethality. A tier, we have our Merc heals, Operative heals, Concealment DPS, Vengeance DPS, Annihilation DPS. The top of B, we have Fury, followed by our Darkness tank, then Carnage, followed by Advanced Prototype, Innovative Ordnance, Pyrotech, Arsenal. Then we get to our Sword healer. Then we have Virulence, Rage, Lightning. C tier, we have Engineering with the caveat that if you were playing a lot of melee, Engineering will be better. Then we have the Jug tank, that's just not doing very good, followed by Hatred. And again, always rounding up the bottom of the list, that has been for a long time now. Ever since 7.0 was released, is Marksman. Marksman just needs help, needs lots of help. So that's kind of my impressions right now currently. Like I said, these can all change. Just kind of give the meta a little bit more time to play out. So go ahead and leave a like, comment below. Let me know what you think about it. And as always, see ya.